The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Hi everyone, welcome to this edition of Your Box Seat. Yes, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. I hope the build-up to Christmas is going well for you. How's it going for you, Michael?
It's going great, Gregory. Big hi to you. Welcome back from Australia. We'll talk a lot about that later because I think we got, for most people, the Inter-Dominion Grand Finals night they wanted. And we've got some great footage coming up on the Box Seat today of a bunch of people at Alexandra Park who got the Group 1 they wanted. And Gregory, I would say, I've been going to Alexandra Park for a long time. Haven't seen many scenes like that. It was very heartwarming and noisy at the park on Friday night. So to everybody watching the show, Merry Christmas. Great to have you along. And yep, we're going to have some fun today.
Yep, we certainly are, Michael. So what's ahead for you on Your Box Seat? Well, Michael's touched on a few of these things. The lady did step up and win the Queen of Hearts. We'll have a look at the Thames Trotting race and the Cup as well. Both of them were Cups. Josh Dickey's back in town. Invercargill preview for their big day, including the Invercargill Cup. We'll update you on the champ that is. Copy that. Check out those Inter-Dominion finals. It was a great night there at Albion Park. And tips from Santa, I'll tell you what we're going to do with those. We're going to park them, so you'll have to watch next week's show, which is the final show of the year, of course, and then we'll have a wee break. But we'll have a whole lot of information for you next week for you to get involved over that holiday period. Michael touched on it, though. It was Group 1 racing at Alexandra Park last Friday night, the Woodland Stud Queen of Hearts. Let's go and have a look at the start of the race to begin with, because this was absolutely crucial. Lady of the Light. Couple of scratchings meant she came in a couple of positions, which meant Maurice McKendry thought, right, I'm going to have a crack at Manhattan nice and early here, get across in front of Artie's Express. Once this happened, it was almost, well, effectively the winning of the race. We'll get Aaron White to bring Lady of the Light home and then hear from successful trainer Jeremy Young, the man they call Zinny, and here's some of the chanting that Michael mentioned before. Certainly something unique for Alexandra Park.
From Manhattan, All-American lover and life's a beach, Lady of the Light, the Magic Man, Maurice McKendry's back, Group 1 winning at Alexandra Park. Lady of the Light, great win, life's a beach and a photo second.
Well, Zinni, that's a great buzz for you and the team and a good bunch of owners.
Oh, fantastic, Mick. Like, you know, the horse has done us proud tonight. She had to work early to get across. And, you know, I thought it was a dominant win, you know, in a race like that. So I couldn't be more prouder. And also a lot of friends from school, you know, syndicates that have been put together, and they're just loving it. So that's what racing's about.
You're getting a bit of a yell, we're getting a bit of a chant. You're getting the Opie Bosson chant with Jeremy Young added to it there.
Yeah, well, no Opie Bosson, that's for sure. About 300 kilos of heavy out.
These idiots. Outstanding.
That was pretty cool, the Jeremy Young chant.
Oh no, that's what racing's all about. And this is what we sort of need back. Alexandra Park is what it's all about.
All right, let's talk about the barrier, because I thought 8, you were in a world of pain. Did you give Morris any different instructions once 8 became 6?
Yeah, well, I sort of talked to him, you know, give him a call at lunchtime, and I said, you know, she's really well. I just felt, let's try something different, and, you know, it sort of worked in our favour. I think it was a bit of a surprise, really, so, yeah, the tactic worked.
You never gave up faith you could beat the lights of an Artie's Express. You told me a month ago you could beat it.
100%. You know, she's a good staying mare, and you know, I said to the lads, you know, we want to look to the New Zealand Cup sort of thing. That's how much I hold her in respect in that regard. But she had to do something like this tonight, and she's proven that she's good enough. So yeah.
Okay, mares races coming up. Do you see yourself dabbling in an Auckland Cup or a Taylor Mile or something like that in the first half of 2024?
Yeah, we'll be leaving the Auckland Cup. It just we've had one standing start, so because mainly we race mobiles, I need to probably work on that. So I'm probably looking just to go to the mares races at Addington, and that's you know, your January and early February, and then from there, possibly Australia, but we'll go from you know, January, February.
Mate, you don't have a big team these days. Is this something you hope Jeremy, or Zinny as we like to call you, will springboard you to a few more horses coming in the front door?
Oh, listen, I love, you know, your passion's there for training horses. I do love it, so that's first and foremost. But I never really wanted to get a big team. I just like to put individual, just do those little 10% as well. And I've got a good bunch of owners being supportive, so yeah, it's great. And if I can get another horse, I'm going to take it, jump at it. But yeah, to do that tonight was special.
Macca has driven her a treat the last couple of runs, but Monica Ranger was on the horse earlier, and I thought she gave it confidence, and she's a nice soft driver in the hands. I think she really helped this mare regain a bit of a mojo.
Yeah, it was great to put Monty on, and you know, worked from a junior driver, and then Shane, or Monty's partner, sort of said to me the 3 points thing, and I said, oh well, that's a great idea. And you're right, Mick. I think she gave her a bit of confidence being in front, and you know, kudos to her too. She'll be wrapped tonight watching her win that race.
Second Group 1 win for the man they call Zinny, of course a chef by trade, but a talented horseman. Best Western, of course, won him in Oaks. Look, Maurice McKendry, another Group 1 win for him. There's so many storylines here, Michael. I think he's had about 38 or 39 at the absolute top level, and that was top draw. That was exactly what you'd expect from a driver of his quality. Great runs in behind. Life's a Beach, excellent. Another Group 1 placing for her, as is the case for Manhattan. And All-American Lover, who was a defending champion, going a good race in fourth too. But all the plaudits have to go with Lady of the Light, and that was a pretty dominant win in the end.
Not often, Greg, they draw barrier 8 at Alexandra Park and cross in a Group 1 and then still have enough energy to burn away at the end. So that surprise attack at the start, really smart. I think they were aided by the fact that Manhattan wasn't pacing that smoothly. You could see Bob Butt thinking, I sort of want to hold the lead here from Artie's Express, but she wasn't really looking like she was 100% heading into the first bend. So he's handed up, and she was that same, a little bit choppy, maybe touching a knee. I don't know exactly what was happening with her around the home bend, Greg. So not the best version of Manhattan, we clearly know that. Life's a Beach, really good. All-American Love you've mentioned. And the interesting one, of course, is Artie's Express. Heavily backed in from 2.2 into $1.65. The bookies were right. The punters got it wrong, including myself. She was in the 1-1, and she can look a bit choppy sometimes, Greg. She looks a little bit noddy with her head. And she was checked out by a vet after the race. There's nothing wrong with her. So maybe that's just who she is. But that performance wasn't who she is, because obviously most of those fillies or mares she would beat, and the week before she beat them sitting parked. So something not quite right there. But Lady of the Light, Greg, it's easy to think this is a fluke or a new peak for her, but of course she ran second in a Group 1 at Addington way back in February, so she becomes a really big challenger for those races now, because the news coming out yesterday that Millwood Nike hopefully is able to race on, because her tendon tear is very small and isn't getting any worse. But of course, if she was coming into the mares ranks, she would probably be favourite for all these races. But Greg, she's going to be at least 6 months away from coming back to the races, and by then we'll be in the middle of winter, so it will probably be 9 months. So all of a sudden, you've got at least a little question mark over Artie's Express, and the assurity that Millwood Nike's not going to be there, Greg. So Lady of the Light may not be finished yet.
No, exactly, and she was second in that Premier race. There's the Garrard's Premier Mares the last week in January, and then they go to the Group 1 the following week. So yeah, she's already been placed in that, and now she's got the respect factor. So there's a lot to like about what she can achieve in the next couple of months. What she achieved the other night, though, was quite exceptional. Right, let's move on to another performance from Alexandra Park last Friday night. This was the members' trot, the Thames members' trot. And Dream of You, getting to the outside of the hands of David Butcher of Resolve, who's been in stunning form. She's been busy, but she's been racing so well. But Dream of You had its measure, trained by Derek Ball. And post-race, Michael Guerin caught up with David Butcher.
Dream of You back on a new campaign. Brilliant win. Dream of You to beat Resolve. Kiss and Run. Bangkok Betty fourth.
Well, David, he's turning into the trotter we sort of hoped he would be.
Yeah, no, I've sort of jumped on late in at the right time, I think. Zachary did a little bit of work with him and got him going around, and Derek's taken a bit of time and looked after him to get him there, and he's just starting to come to it.
Resolve ran third in the Dominion, and you better up the straight tonight, so I would suggest he's going to be an open class horse of some sort.
Oh yeah, he's still got to improve a little bit more, you know, but his manners are getting better and he's a little bit more attractive now.
Does he feel safe? Because he used to jump out of it for no real reason. Maybe it was weakness. He looks pretty happy out there.
Oh, it was pretty good tonight. Yeah, no, he's in the rhythm, and no, I was pretty happy with it. Derek gave me a bit of a driving instruction beforehand, which I got to tell this one, I can't help myself. He said, just treat it like a trial, Dave. You know, I don't know how far forward he is. Good on you, Derek. It's only worth 50k.
And what do you make of him? Like, okay, he may not be bolt for brilliance next week, but I think he's a horse who's coming into an open class crop where, to be honest, Butch, there's only 2 or 3 really good ones and the rest are pretty even.
Oh, that's right, you know, but he's still got to make another step up too to be with the bolt for brilliance and those guys. But he's getting there, you know. He's getting older, he's getting stronger. Probably got 3 or 4 more years in him, you know. What
about you? Have you got 3 or 4 more years in you? Because about once a year at the moment you seem to do something silly to yourself and hurt yourself. Can you hang around for 3 or 4 more years for him?
I probably have to make him keep going, you know. Ben's coming home, so life's a lot easier in that sense, so I'm enjoying that.
So Ben's going to be working with you?
Yeah, I think it's more like arguing with each other, to be honest, Nick.
That's the Butcher way. Your old man will be proud of you.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know, I must have thought of all the wrong things because we're always arguing. He knows too much now.
He's a crack up, David. In fact, the whole family are. Yeah, I'd love to be a fly on the wall with a couple of those battles around the stables. But one thing is for sure, Michael, he can still drive and drives very effectively and got the business done there with a pretty handy sort of trotter.
Yeah, it's a good horse. I've always thought this was a good horse. I actually tried to buy it, Greg, after it had one start. And so it ran second in its first start, and the owners decided to keep it. And then it went 9 runs in a row or something like that without running a placing. I tried to buy it again, and they stuck to their guns, Greg. I'm actually glad they didn't sell it to me because they're lovely people, and I'm really happy to see them have a good horse. I always thought he might turn into this, just that Love You blood, taking him a bit of time to mature. He's a Rowe Cup horse. I'm not saying he's going to win a Rowe Cup because there's 3 very, very good trotters in the country, Greg. But he's going to fit into open class really nicely, and I think he suits Derek's training. Derek's quite kind to his horses, and he doesn't push and shove them. And I think had he been with a different sort of trainer, they might have blown him up by now, and he might be racing somewhere in Australia and be blown up. So I think Derek will look after him, and I think he's a horse who's going to be, hopefully, racing at Alexandra Park in good trots, and eventually Addington, Greg, for quite a few years to come, potentially with David Butcher if he doesn't do anything silly to himself again. Yeah,
$50,000 Green Lane Cup on the 31st it is, Michael, so maybe the same driving instructions there from Derek might work, just treat it as a trial and just let him run home, and that's exactly what he did. Maurice McKendry had a good night, didn't he, on Friday night? The horse he trained at Mickey Shan's, the next one we want to have a look at in front here in the Goldfields Thames Pacing Cup. Yeah, really good performance from him in the Gerald Shand colours, Michael. Beautifully rated in front. Look, he only had to go a 2-2 mile rate, but ripped home. Bart got close to him, as did Simply Sam and Don't Stop Me Now. The latter pair both going around at Cambridge on Christmas Eve. But he's a smarty, and Mickey Shand made it to win 6 at start 22, and he's banked over 80,000 now, Michael.
Well, it's sort of hard to believe he's still only 3. He seems to have been floating around for a lot longer, Greg, and he's now raced in 2 of these Country Cups qualifier races, so he can go to the finals either in the north or, of course, in the south, and he can step from a standing start. So that gives him so many more options coming up over coming months. Great night for Morris. Gerald's been a little bit absent from the races recently, so we are thinking of you, Gerald, and looking forward to hopefully getting you back to the races. But his colours in play in both codes at the moment. He's got a very good galloper called Mary Shan at the moment as well, so he's put an awful lot of money into the game. I was talking to Macca a couple of weeks ago, Greg. He's only got a couple of horses in work. That one and a trotter called, I think, a Trophy Wife. So
That's right.
Not a big team for Macca at the moment, but he still knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he and Sue just doing a couple together on their own and yeah, quite enjoying that part of their life, I think, at this stage. And of course, those horses will go forward to the 31st as well, the Lincoln Farms Pacing Cup there, Franklin Cup on the 31st. So that'll be an excellent race, I'm sure. Very good night of harness racing there at Alexandra Park last Friday night, which included this bloke returning, a man who's driven over 450 winners domestically, Joshua Dickey, and how good to have him back in the ranks.
Welcome home, mate. What's it like being home?
Oh, mate, it's a great feeling because, you know, there's no place like home. You know, we've been away a couple of years now and, you know, we've been back for the cup meeting a couple of times, but to get back to North Island where I'm from, yeah, I can't beat it.
Okay, no winners tonight, but it's a nice test run. So you and your partner, Sam Kilgour, what's the plan? When are you actually moving back here? Because I know you're only back for the weekend.
Yeah, look, there's still no set date on it just because of a few little things we need to iron out at home. But, you know, it'll be very early January, which is only a couple of weeks away. We're still racing a couple, you know, next week back in Victoria. So, you know, we just need to get these horses sorted out and, you know, the picture will be painted a bit clearer probably in the next few days, I think.
You were telling me Steve Telfer and Steve Stockman at Stonewall started being great about giving you that extra time. I'm sure you're looking forward to getting your hands on some of their horses.
Yeah, I went out there this morning and drove track work for them. Yeah, every horse I drove were very, very well bred and lovely horses. You know, they all work great and, you know, just that stock. I'm really looking forward to, you know, doing all that. You know, there's pretty exciting with, you know, what's in front of us with some of these rising 2-year-olds and 3-year-old fillies and colts. You know, it's, you know, when you think ahead to some of these races down the track next season, it's pretty exciting, mate.
Has it been frustrating in Victoria? Because it's a great move and it's great to try things when you're young enough. And of course, Sammy's got property over there, but you'd never really got behind that many good horses. And that must be frustrating because here in New Zealand, you've tended to drive a lot of good horses.
Yeah, that's right. It was frustrating. You know, before we moved, I had great support from, you know, good trainers, even if they were just fill-in roles. You know, I was lucky to drive for Mark Purden. You know, he put me on a few times and, you know, that was give you a lot of confidence doing that. And it just in Victoria, it just didn't happen. You know, I had some good support from trainers, but just probably not at the top end races where you need to be at. But look, we give it a crack. And, you know, it's been 2 years. It's time to come home and, you know, see what we can do here.
Okay, you'll be driving for Stonewall Studham for Steve and Amanda Telfer, but I presume you're available for outside drives when they don't require you.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I'd like to fill up as many drives as I can. You know, try to get back into the swing I was before we moved. You know, obviously Steve and Amanda will be the, you know, predominant stable for me, but, you know, I'll be taking drives anywhere I can.
What's it like being back at Alexandra Park, a place where you've cut your teeth and you've learnt the ropes and you've driven some good horses and some bad horses? What's it been like being back here tonight?
Yeah, as I say before, I just love this place. You know, we started driving here when I was 17 and then walking the driver's room tonight and yeah, I had a great chat to Morris McKendry. You know, I haven't seen Morris for a while or just been able to have a yarn to him and, you know, it's a great camaraderie in the driver's room and when you get on the track, it's, you know, there's no friends out there. It's just, you know, we're on the good challenges out there, you know.
Yeah, he's a great talent, isn't he, Joshua? And he's driven about 6 or 7 Group 1 winners associated with the mighty trotter Speeding Spur, of course. And the bloke in the background there, along with his partner, Linda, was his dad, of course, John Dickey, and I'm sure he'll be picking up a few drives for Dad as well. He's terrific to have back in the north, isn't he, Michael?
He is, because, you know, we do have some great drivers. In fact, 2 of our best ever drivers, Morris and Tony, still driving, but when you talk to them, I don't think they want to be driving in 10 years' time. So you do need new blood coming through. We do have a lot of very good young drivers in the north, Greg, but yeah, Josh brings experience, 2 country experience and 2 gate experience. He's had a lot of success with trotters and a lot of success with pacers. So Yeah, I think a lot of people are happy to see him back. And him and Sammy gave it a crack, but doesn't mean it won't work next time they try it, Greg. So, you know, life's full of possibilities, but he looks pretty happy to be home.
Yeah, he does, and there's nothing wrong with having a crack, as you quite rightly say. We're about to have a look at the Invercargill meeting on Friday afternoon, which is going to be a superb one. It's their big day in the sun, of course, their Group 1 race. A horse that was going there, wasn't going there, and then was and then wasn't again, Michael, is a Cooter, who's now heading to that meeting on the 31st at Alexandra Park. So I spoke to Nathan Purden on Friday, and he said, oh yeah, I think we'll go to Invercargill, and by Saturday it had changed again. So yeah, interesting times with the runner-up in the IRT New Zealand Cup.
Well, I think the plane helped Greg, so they can get a plane next Wednesday to get him to Auckland, and then from there it's a lot easier to get from Auckland to Melbourne than it is from Invercargill. So that's made their mind up, and it wouldn't have been easy to win the Invercargill Cup off a back mark anyway. Then he heads across on the 10th to Melbourne, gives him the option of Shepparton on the 13th, which I don't think they'll take. Then Ballarat a week later, then 2 weeks after that, or something like that, the Hunter Cup. Now, Hunter Cup night's going to be massive because it's also Great Southern Star night, Greg, and Oscar Bonavina could 50-50 head to the Great Southern Star, maybe Just Believe, who we'll see later might scare him away. Muscle Mountain was touted as being a chance to go to that. I don't think he'll go, but we'll keep people updated next week on that. And Don't Stop Dreaming's going, Greg. Now, this is really interesting. He's going to race in the Bonanza, and the Bonanza will qualify him for the Chariots of Fire. And Merlin is going to Sydney to try and qualify for the Chariots of Fire. So these two boys, these two young scrapping boys in the backyard of New Zealand, just taking their fight over to Sydney. And Greg, you were there the other day at Albion Park. It was great, but I still think the best version of what we do is when the two countries clash, as we saw with Swayze and Akuta in the Cup. You had Akuta to maybe leap to fame, or whoever turns up for the Hunter Cup, into a Miracle Mile if he heads that way. And you have something you can sell to the Gallops punters. You can say, this is really cool, come watch this, which is sometimes a little bit harder. So I think it's hopefully the rebirth of proper Trans-Tasman rivalry over the last 6 weeks through the New Zealand Cup, and then heading, of course, into Victoria and possibly New South Wales.
Yeah, totally agree. Let's have a look at the market for this year's, or next year's as it is now, Hunter Cup. $2.20 for the winner of the Inter-Dominion and Leap to Fame. $3.50 a Cooter. Hot and Treacherous, Michael, now with Jason Grimson, $81 into $4.60. In fact, he got shorter than that. Better Eclipse, $11, who was second, of course, in the Inter-Dominion. Catch a Wave is an outstanding pacer and a Miracle Mile winner, and Ladies in Red there too. So, yeah, what do you sort of make of that market? Probably an overreaction for Hot and Treacherous, who would be the best credentialed horse that Jason Grimson's picked up, I would have thought. Hence the reason why I think a few got on. What do you want me to say?
I don't know what to say about that. Look, I've been following harness racing for 40 years, and I've loved galloping for probably 30 of those too. And there's never been a trainer anywhere in the world who, when a horse moved to them, went from $81 to $4.60 to win a Group 1 in 4 weeks. It's just ridiculous. He might win, I don't know, but it's...
After running about 10th or 11th in the Consolation.
It's a jaw-dropping move. Now, they wouldn't take a lot of money to move that market, and the bookies are looking after themselves because that's what they're supposed to do. But it's still a staggering twist. I'll put it to you this way. If Hot and Treacherous, who was $81 for the Hunter Cup, joined Mark and Nathan Purden, it might be $21. It might have got to $16. It wouldn't have got to $4.60. So,
no.
And Mark Purden, I believe, is the greatest harness racing trainer to ever train in this part of the world. And I've read a lot of historical books. I do a lot of data on things. That's a firm belief of mine. So, wow.
Okay, we'll leave that right there and go on to the 77th running of the Ascot Park Hotel Invercargill Cup. The two backmarkers, well, one's off the backmark, one's just in front of it, clashed, of course, in the East-West Fencing Summer Cup at Addington Raceway. Here was Beach Ball in unreal form this day. Once he found the front, kept rolling for Ricky May and just kept on going. He was way too strong in the end, home in 55.5. Self-Assured was excellent. American Me in third and Heisenberg behind it. But this was a dominant performance, Michael. He gets 10 metres in front of Self-Assured, who raced in this last year. And it's not easy to come around them and beat them. Krug was in front on that day, although I would say this time, and well done to the club and HRNZ for getting a fuller field than what the original nominations looked like. It won't be as hard to get around them because I don't think there's a Group 1 type of horse in front of the two back markers.
That's the entire question of the race, Greg, for two reasons. If Beach Ball is able to step away, balance up, and then roll around to the front, he should win. And he's been 2.1 to 1.9 to say he will. But down south, and with some of these staying type horses like an American Me, you can see how people would say, well, this is our chance. We're not going to win the Auckland Cup or whatever the race by grins. Let's just declare it here. And Invercargill's one of those tricks, Greg, where quite often they do that. So, because here's the other thing. If Self-Assured steps onto the back of Beach Ball, which is where you presume he is, and Beach Ball doesn't get the lead, then you say to yourself, well, where does that put Self-Assured? If they shuffle up and muck around and Beach Ball's sitting with Self-Assured in his back, Self-Assured will probably beat him. If Beach Ball can put horses between him and Self-Assured, or of course roll to the front, I think he'll win. So I think the mindset of rival drivers, and if he decides to move, how determined or aggressive Ricky May is, Greg, I think that might win this race. But my natural instinct, like many people watching the show, was, oh, well, Ricky will launch, he'll roll round, get the lead, and that'll be that. But in the deep south, even though there's a lot of mid-grade rating horses here, Greg, it only takes one to say no, and the complexion of this race will look vastly different for favoured punters.
Yeah, and off the front, $6.50 about Mossdale Ben and $12 for American Me, who's just done a fantastic job, not only getting into the Cup, but also the way he raced with great aplomb. Speaking of horses racing great, here's Oscar Bonavina. This is him 3 back on the fence. He did get the late passage through to beat Majestic Man, of course. Loving the Port about to roll into a break, but this won't be easy for him either, Michael, taking on some pretty handy horses for the same reasons you just mentioned before. 30 metres behind, he's $1.65, that was his opening price, but a horse like Smokin' Bandar gets a 20-metre start off him at a track that he hasn't actually performed at. I don't know that he likes the tighter bends there, Smokin' Bandar, but if he did handle the track, he would be competitive. Loving the Port's a Row Cup winner. A horse like Muscle Bank could try and roll them along here in front. Exactly what you were saying about the pacing race, which won't make it easy. What he does have is that great weapon, which is his enormous speed.
Yeah, it's a weird one because he might come out and win and people will go, how the hell was he $1.65? He might be the best trotter in the country at the moment. How did that happen? Or he might be in a situation where Smokin' Bandar steps, rolls to the front and trots home his last mile on 157, which he could do. And Oscar, like at Ashburton and like at Kaikoura, might just not be able to catch him or get on the back of the right horse to catch him. I still think he'll win. I still think he'll win because I don't like the fact that Smokin' Bandar galloped last start, and that means in your mind you think he could gallop again. And I think Oscar would have the rest of them covered. So I think $1.65's fair enough because, Greg, as a punter, you can go, well, I'll put that in my multi with all my other things because that's good and fair, but it's not so, it's not a ridiculous price where the bookies are just playing got it wrong. I still think he'll win, but a lot could depend on things like the weather and the composition of the field and, again, the attitude of the drivers. Like, if he misses away Smokin' Bandar, Oscar would be $1.15.
All right, it's named after one of the great trotters, the monster, David Moss. I don't know how much you used to enjoy him racing, Michael.
I was writing a story once about midnight. I was absolutely knackered. I used to write 3,000 words every week for the Trotting Weekly in Melbourne, and I was just out of bullets. So I just typed the monster Moss is coming to Melbourne because I like alliteration. Alliterations when all the words have the same letters. And anyway, Dan Malecki picked up on it. And called him that during a call, and he got called the Monster Moss for a couple of years after that. And I was at a function one day and someone said, the great Dan Malecki who named him the Monster Moss, and I was furious for about 10 minutes. I was absolutely fuming, Greg, but yeah, Dan loved the fact that he got the kudos for it. And David Moss, if you've never seen it, he won a race one day at Ascot Park, I think it was, by something like 30 lengths. Yeah. When he was down on the grade. So for the Cox family, he was a wonderful horse. Good to see him have a race named after him. And Greg, good to see the program down there so strong. Yeah. The Cup's not as strong as last year, but the rest of the program's stronger through those other grade races. It's an absolute beauty. I'm looking forward to delving into it for the Herald on Friday, because this is what Southland deserves, and I think Friday night will sit quite nicely for them, Greg, away from the gallops. I think they'll have all their own coverage. I think they'll have an absolute super night.
Yeah, earlier in the program, a race named after one of the great mares, Robin Dundee, who was, I think, driven by Robert Cameron. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. Let's have a look at Ain't No Angel, who's going around in this. This was in the south of the Waitaki race with Macca Lodge. Finished third, did a fair bit of work, Brad Williamson doing the steering. He's going to have to do work again, Michaels, because got barrier 8 over the 1700. Moonlight Dream has excellent gate speed. Got the likes of Taylor Me, who I'm sure is better than her form, and Kikarangi Blue, the outside of the second row. But there was nothing wrong with this performance behind the Williamson pair. Rise Up and Dance goes round in the last race too, and Mr. Cashman taking it out. But Ain't No Angel does have a bit of quality when she brings her absolute best to the racetrack. She's very, very hard to beat.
Yeah, and great to see Robin Dundee having a race named after her. She's one of the unsung heroes of New Zealand harness racing, because she won the first Miracle Mile, and Robert Cameron drove her, and she actually raced on the back end of the Cardigan Bay era, which was just a magical era for New Zealand racing, Greg. So, yep, great to see them. I was talking to Brittany Graham on a show in Australia this morning, Greg, and mentioning for people over in Australia, they may not realise what an important part Southland is of what we do over here. Of course, it's the home of the greatest ever Australasian standardbred in Cardigan Bay. So I'm just stoked that I've got a really cool Friday meeting this week, and I'm really looking forward to watching it from afar.
Yeah, they've got a special race there too, Michael, the inaugural running of the Canada Stakes. Canada is the daughter of Jason Broad. We've got a photo there for you to have a look at. Canada's living life to the full. They're not sure how long she's going to be with us, but she's got an incurable disease, so that means that you know, she really wants to just fulfil her life. Jason's a massive part of Southland Harness. You know, he puts together all the fields and just has an enormous influence on the success story that is down south. So to the family, his daughter Canada, I hope you have a great day. She wanted a race named after her. She's got a field that's appropriate, including this horse, who was successful at Addington Raceway, for the same trainer who won an Invercargill Cup with Dad and Dave, named Ugachaka. After the song, obviously, because he doesn't mind a bit of karaoke, Tim Trathan. And this was a performance, Michael. They don't often come from this position at Addington Raceway, and I reckon he'd be pretty stoked to win this race, as would a few others, because there's a deep race. Advanced Parties in there, Treacherous Gal, and a couple of others too. But I think this one, a filly by Down by the Seaside, might be going places.
Yeah, nice horse, and really has sort of snuck up on me a touch, but deep field. I think a lot of these horses, Greg, are almost ready for the paddock, and they'll be using this on their way out. But hey, thanks for the background on Jason's daughter, Canada. Canada, if you're watching, I'll be watching your race on Friday night, because now I know a bit more about it, it's going to be even more special to me, Greg. And yeah, there's some great stories in harness racing, and that's one which makes Friday even more special.
Yeah, absolutely it does, and we wish the club all the very best down there. It's going to be an enormous afternoon into the evening for them. Speaking of stories, where's the Copy That story at? Well, our intrepid reporter Michael Guerin was at Alexandra Park on Friday night and got the opportunity to have a chat to Ray Green about what's happening with Copy That.
Well, Ray, we know your old mate Copy That's in Australia. What's the reports on him?
Pretty positive, but you know, they've been very guarded with what they tell us. But reading between the lines, I'm thinking that he'll get back as a racehorse.
Okay, so what has happened medically or operation-wise over there at Ballarat?
Okay, we were sent there originally to get it's the only MRI in this part of the world that they can do them standing up. And the owners have got a good rapport with that particular Ballarat veterinary centre. And they've done a little operation on his knee, just basically a tidy up, bit of cartilage that's been damaged, a bit of bone fragments taken out and whatnot. Nothing major, it's quite common apparently, and that's all gone very well. So it's just a time thing now. We have to do the rehab, go through the procedure of rehab. And
I suppose, Ray, one positive thing with Copy that is we know he can bounce back. He's not a sulk. He's had issues similar or worse than this before, and he's come back and won New Zealand Cups.
Exactly. The only difference being he's a little bit older now, and that may or may not be a factor. But yes, you're right. He's been there, done that, and here we are again. So,
all right, let's talk percentages for all his fans out there, Ray. What are the percentage chances, from what you can ascertain, that we'll see Copy that back at a racetrack?
Well, my own gut feel it is probably 100%.
I like that.
Yeah. But in reality, I suppose you've got to sort of say 75%.
If he does come back, and you can get him back to his best, would that third New Zealand Cup now spread over all those different years, would that be the main target, the only target?
Well, it'd be the first major target. By the time he gets back, that'll be the next one on the agenda. But you'll miss the $1 million race. But yeah, it'll be our first main target.
Welcome back into your box seat. Yes, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. A massive thank you to them for 2023 as well. Let's, with one of them, Garrard's, go across the ditch and take in the Australasian Young Drivers Championship, which was with one equine. This is when the storm hit. It was about 35 degrees, dropped about 10 degrees. This weather rolled in, then it rolled out very quickly and it was pretty humid. But this is Josh Gallagher getting the business done on a former Kiwi in a Rhoda, a half, of course, to a Kuta, bolts away, and as a result of that, he stole the series of young Angus Garrard, who led pretty much all the way, Michael, but Josh won the Inter-Dominion, of course, promoted Inter-Dominion with Bonspiel Benjamin, a likeable young fella, does a massive job, and driving an ex-Kiwi to get the job done. He was tied on 81 points. Emily Savelko was only a point back. It was a great old battle. The Kiwis did very well. You know, they carried themselves with great aplomb. Sarah O'Reilly, a former champion, of course, Zev Meredith and Crystal Hackett. But Joshua Gallagher is a guy you're going to see more of because he's a pretty talented driver.
Yeah, he drives with the big boys and girls every Saturday night at Menangle, which is a hard school to drive at, Greg. And he does a lot of travelling. He was at Canberra on Monday night. He'll drive at Newcastle most Friday nights, and he'll drive at Menangle Tuesday afternoon today. So they're busy boys and girls over there. They drive a lot more than our drivers do, obviously. But yeah, it's sort of weird when you think there's an Australasian young drivers and the guy who won the Inter-Dominion 2 years ago is still driving in it. So yeah, it's a very unusual situation, but deep crop, I thought, over there, Greg. The Kiwis aren't that exposed. I mean, obviously Sarah is, and Crystal's coming through, and so is Zev. So, you know, they're established drivers. But Greg, when you get over there with some of the Australian drivers, some of the numbers.
Well, James Herbertson, he's driven 1,000 winners.
Yeah, the numbers are huge. As I said, James would probably drive 5 days a week.
Yep.
Josh Gallagher would drive 5 days a week. So, yep, it's a different. When you realise when you're over there, Greg, like you were last week, you realise how different the world is over there. Like, we race and people look forward to Addington on Friday night and they might go to the Mott on Sunday type thing. Whereas over there, Redcliffe, sometimes you turn on the TV and there's a race meeting across the road from you at Albion Park. You haven't even given it a second thought. It's yeah, there's a relentless amount of racing, and what it does, Greg, with the lower grade horses, because I follow a lot of Australian racing, often when they've got bad barriers, they'll just go to the rails and sit there. They'll go there, sit there, because they're racing 3 days later somewhere else. And a lot of them just take their turn to win when they are able to get in a good enough spot, which is why barrier draw punting over there is so crucial, Greg.
Yep.
Whereas over here, because a horse tends to race on a 2-week cycle, they're more likely to be put into the race or be able to win from somewhere else in the race. So, yeah, they're vastly different products, New Zealand and Australian racing. And people ask me all the time, how did that little thing go on to win 20 races in Australia?
Yep.
Well, Greg, it's not that hard to win 20 races at Bathurst or Wagga or one of those type, or Redcliffe, even if you're a 5-win horse in New Zealand.
Yep, well, it went 151.8, and the bloke who trained it also trained and drove this horse. Let's move on to the 83rd running of the Inter-Dominion Pacers final, and here he was, the local hero, the horse they call Lowry Leap to Fame, dashing away from the 600-metre mark. It was an outstanding performance. His wife Trista Dixon gave us some time after the final and explained just what it felt like and what it means to them.
Trista, congratulations. It's been a massive couple of weeks for you guys, but a huge thrill to see him put on that performance.
Yeah, it's been a long few weeks. Very relieved that it's over and done with, and he done a super job.
Yeah. What was it like watching that? Because when he let him down at the 600-metre mark, and you knew he was travelling, it must have been pretty special.
Yeah, I stayed down here on my own. No one around. And yeah, it was. He did. Like I could tell, he's just travelling really well. He looked perfect. Yeah, it's just something just so special to watch and to witness. And
he's been awesome in his career. Is that the best you've had him?
Yeah, considering the circumstances, it's been a tough, muggy last week. 3 runs, just trying to keep him as fresh, as happy as we can. It's been a lot of work, but we got there.
All right, he's done the job tonight. Back in New Zealand, they've been watching. We've got a $1 million slot race called the Race by Grins. What do you reckon the chances of a wee holiday for you and Grant and the kids?
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice. Kevin was down early. He said, let's go to New Zealand. So we'll just have to see how we go and give him a little break and then work from there. See how he is. He'll be telling us what he's doing.
You must be very proud of Grant too, because for all his great wins and the great horses you guys have had, the pressure that comes with this horse, and particularly driving him, he handled it beautifully tonight.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, just so proud of him to get it out of the way. He's always wanted to win one, and he did, and he's been up and down all week just thinking of different things and different circumstances of what could happen and what if, and stressing about him. But yeah, he sort of got his mind taken off the job earlier because we had the kids over the back with the pony, so he was very busy early.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good, it was great.
Well, you've made Queensland proud, you've made Australia proud with this horse, so congratulations, and we look forward to seeing him on our side of the field today.
Thank you.
What were your mindset going into the Pacers Grand Final? Because off the back of some really solid heat performances, you had to get the right run, and you did.
Yeah, that's right. It's yeah, if you'd asked me before the race if I'd driven him like that, I would have said, don't be silly. But no, it just seemed the right move at the time. So we were really happy with our horse, obviously, what he's done throughout this series and coming into this week. I didn't think we could have him any better. So we knew he'd run a good race, but we thought we needed everything to sort of go our way. And thankfully I made the right move and kind of worked out that way.
He has come a long way, and he's already been to New Zealand for the Race by Grins. Is that a possibility again with him now that he's so well-rounded?
Yeah, definitely an option. We hadn't made any plans for his immediate future after this series. Just wanted to wait to see how he handled everything. But certainly that is something that we'd be interested in.
$220 is the price for Leap to Fame to win the Race by Grins. That sounded pretty positive, Michael. $270 for a Cooter, and then out to about $6 for Swayze. But a couple of things about the final. I love the horse, you know that. I think he's a pretty special horse, and he proved that the other night. But the drive by Greg Sugars to get his placing with Better Eclipse, and the positive sounding that he'll be coming back was again something I thought was really, really good to hear.
It looked like really good fun. A local winning their race, it just all adds up. He's a wonderful horse. He's not a dominant horse. That was dominant, but he's not good enough to sit park to win races, which is actually good, because the one issue when you get those really dominant horses, like Lazarus, who can just sit parked and win, Greg, is it's really hard to bet against them, and it's hard to sell it to people too much. It's not very dramatic. They love it, but it's not very dramatic to watch. Whereas this horse is good enough that if he comes to the race by grins and he leads, he'll probably win. And if he comes to the race by grins and sits parked, he probably won't. And that's good for everybody because then people aren't scared to come and take them on. Better Eclipse, I'm sure, will come because I think the horse we're going to see shortly will come for the trot slot race. But he's not going to scare anybody away. They're not going to say, I can't beat him, because he can be beaten. So I think we're at a really interesting time with the pacing crop. I think the trotting crop, Greg, I don't say this very often, I think this horse is just better than them. I think Just Believe, the defending champion who we saw on Saturday night, might be better than our trotters, and I'm not sure any of ours could have done this, Gregory.
Well, congratulations on another trotting final, a clean sweep again, first horse to go through back-to-back series doing that. Must be a marvellous feeling.
Absolutely, and full credit to the horse. He's just an amazing animal, and he just makes our job as trainers and drivers so much easier. He just keeps getting the job done.
All right, you summed that race up beautifully. Mufasa Metro was always going to lead, and you could control the race by sitting fast.
Yeah, absolutely. We knew there was going to be, if we didn't happen to find the front pre-race, we thought we could control the tempo outside, and if that's the way it was going to unfold, which it did, sort of put everyone else sort of out of play, really, and we held all the cards. And yeah, he's such a perfect, relaxed racehorse that's sitting outside and going any speed, doesn't seem to worry him. He just adapts to whatever he has to do and sparks up when he needs to.
Yeah, and Jess does such a lot of work with him. It really has been a big part of why he's got to where he has.
Oh, absolutely. Just not just him, just the whole team. She's phenomenal, really. And a lot of people don't realise what she does behind the scenes. She doesn't like the limelight or going to the races that much. She keeps the show running behind the scenes. I'd be lost without it.
All right, so you've got a decision to make, along with the owners, Malcolm and the team. Then you head back to Europe. Is the new trot slot a chance? I mean, from a Kiwi point of view, we'd love you to come.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a chance, especially if Better Eclipse goes. It's probably looks very attractive to take two horses rather than one. And not only just the slot race, there's a lot of good slot races around that time of year over there. So financially, I think that would be a very smart decision for the owners to make. They were pretty keen to head back to Sweden after we were, come so close to getting a victory last time around. But they were pretty keen to do that again. But I'll let them weigh up the options, and we'll have a chat once we get back to Melbourne and let the dust settle and make a plan.
Another great run, Lou.
She went super, 55 half off the front, and probably had to make her run a little bit earlier than we wanted, but she kept trying to the line, and Greg's horse, was well driven and too good on the night.
You had challenges at the start of the series. You had to get her through at her peak, but she's such a marvellous mare. She must be brilliant to work with.
She is, yeah. She's a one of a kind. She's got her little traits, and Trace does most of the work with her at home. So I've been babysitting her up here, but no, look, she's a great mare. We'll have to have her.
Looking forward to seeing her back in New Zealand. You get a chance at the trot slot, which is going to be one heck of a race, and of course you get the advantage of the barrier.
Well, that's the big thing, yeah. If we could pick our draw today, we'd pick the draw inside Just Believe, and we're going over there knowing it's going to happen. So certainly, a big plus.
The tab trot, of course, $6. I think the price about actually $4. Queen Elida, $2.40 Just Believe, $2.80 Muscle Mountain, $6 for Bolt for Brilliance. So the 2 at a Dominion final winners, Michael, are favourite for both the Race by Grins and the tab trot.
I think they'll both come. I don't think they want to take Leap to Fame to the Nullarbor in Perth. I don't think the racing
suits
off the
cards.
Yeah,
yep.
I don't think it suits him. So I think he'll come to Cambridge unless something goes wrong with him, which doesn't seem to happen to him very often. I'm absolutely convinced Just Believe will come. Sweden's a bloody long way to go back again, Gregory, and he's not going to win over there. So he can win over here. And I think the Cambridge Club have a slot of their own. They'll put a syndicate together. I think it's the Taylor Street Syndicate. They've been in touch with Greg Sugars. So, see, the trot slot race, most of the slots are owned by people who already have horses. Oscar Bonavina's people, Bolt for Brilliance's people, Muscle Mountain's people, they've all got slots. So, all of a sudden, Greg, you're saying Queen Elida obviously is going into the TAB Ladbroke slot. So all of a sudden you're saying, well, who's left? And the Cambridge Club, I think it's the Taylor Street Syndicate,
yep.
They have been in contact with this horse and they may well get him. Now that gives someone else the option to get Better Eclipse, who would absolutely be in the top 10 paces in Australasia. Greg, if we have leap to fame here against Akuta and Self Assured and all those good horses we have over here in Merlin, and Don't Stop Dreaming. And we have Queen Elida, Just Believe, Muscle Mountain, Bolt for Brilliance, and Oscar Bonavina, to mention a few. That could be, I don't say this lightly, could be one of the great nights of harness racing ever held in this country. Now, not days, the Cup's a day meeting. Probably the greatest night of absolute depth for harness racing in this country would be probably back about 1983. 1983, we had an Inter-Dominion, which had
Popular Arm.
Gamela, Popular Arm, Bonnie's Chance, Armalite, hands down, Delightful Lady.
Yep.
And in the trot, we had Scotch Notch. So these are great.
Sir Castleton, Basil
great
Dane, all
horses.
those horses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We might have something to rival that.
Mm.
And I don't say that lightly, because that was one of the most important days of my growing up life that made me fall in love and do this stuff now. I know some people aren't happy, but unfortunately I'm here. But Greg, the great news is we might have a race meeting that can rival that.
Yep.
And I've been doing this for a long time. I have only been to 2 or 3 meetings. The Inter-Dominions in 2000 at the Valley, Lyle, and all the great horses like Shaker Maker and Courage Under Fire being one of them, and Christian Cullen competed in that series. We haven't had many carnivals like that, Greg. We might have one on April the 12th.
Yep, absolutely, we might. Great week last week. Wilson House, 5 on the card at Manawatu on a Tuesday, and Nathan Williamson with 5. While I was in Brisbane, you probably think, who's this Nathan Dawson bloke? He's just got past 400 wins, so I checked it out.
Nathan, congratulations, 400 wins. When you started out, I suppose that probably was a total you might have liked to have got to, not in one season.
Yeah, that's right. You know, it's been a bit of a slow start, but had really good support this season, and I'm glad to get there.
All right, to get to 400 and join Chris Alford, who's done it a couple of times before, you're in pretty illustrious company there.
Yeah, I know. Privileged to be up there. You know, you even mentioned with Chris, so I'm pretty proud of what I've achieved this year.
All right, you did it at Redcliffe on Mac Daddy, and I suppose it's appropriate that it was at a, well, not a lesser grade track, but one of the tracks that you have to travel around to, because there's a lot of travel in this game. You've just been to New Zealand, so it's been a big old year.
Yeah, it has. You know, there's plenty of travelling, and I have quite good success with the horses at Redcliffe, so it was good to do it there.
What about the experience in New Zealand, mate? Did it make you hungry for a bit more of that? And obviously driving in the big races, that's where you want to be now.
Yeah, it is. You know, I enjoy getting out there, put my name out there, and hopefully down the track I can pick up some good drives and some good races. So that's the plan.
Off the back of Pete McMullen a couple of seasons ago, getting past 300, now you 400. What's the limit? How high can you get?
Hopefully that's the limit, and hopefully it stands for a while, because I don't want to chase it down again.
So hope you enjoyed that with Nathan Dawson. If you're having a bet in Albion Park or Redcliffe and you see his name, you'll think, he can drive. Right, let's move on to some races coming up for you. Let's go to Cambridge. They've got a dual meeting this week, or 2 of them, Thursday night and then, of course, Sunday, Christmas Eve. Here's Luby Lou going a really nice race, I thought. Michael for Tony Herlihy gets in off the front. This is behind Castana, who's got plenty of talent, but Luby Lou off the front, hard to beat, I would have thought.
Yep, it'll be hard to beat. In a race where Romeo Foxtrot might go okay too. If you're looking to have a bet at Cambridge, my bet of the night, Gregory, is Caulfield, or for the bet of the twilight. Caulfield likes Cambridge, finds Alexandra Park a bit pointy. It'll find itself in a race it can win on Thursday.
Yep, race 5 it goes around, and let's go to Ashburton and see what we think might be winning there. This is on Thursday afternoon. Here's Done Rockin', just keeps on winning. 2 starts for the Stephen McRae team, getting through on the inside for Smiley, the Smiling Assassin, in Craig Thornley. Good form race this. Third, Jazzy Sticks racing well. Then it finished second behind Uga Chaka, who we highlighted before. Point Break getting home really nicely, goes down to Invercargill as part of Friday evening's meeting. So a good form race. Won't be easy from the outside of the second row, but reckon it'll be pretty competitive there. And there is the smiling Craig Thornley. Let's have a look at the map for you, where you can go harness racing, of course, as we build towards Christmas. Ashburton, they do race on Thursday, 3:04, the first of 10 from there. Cambridge race that evening. They've got the 7-race program, 6:03 the start time for that. There's the massive day into the evening. 11 races. It's Ascot Park Hotel Invercargill Cup, along with a string of other features. And then Cambridge do race on Christmas Eve with their Pacers and Trotters Cup, 25 and 20,000 respectively. And then old Santa pops in. GB, Glenn Bourne doing his business there before we cross the Alps for the $25,000 Westport Cup, which is full of form. Looking forward to that. As I mentioned earlier, Michael, we'll have what we call the Christmas Crackers next week with information from our trainers and drivers around the land to help you out with your holiday punting.
Looking forward to it, Greg. Wish I could be at Westport for Boxing Day. I can't be. I'll be at Pukekohe for the gallops and doing lots of other stuff. But hrnz.co.nz, there'll be previews and reviews of every race meeting over the next 2 weeks. And there'll be plenty of them and all the news you need. So not just the box seat or ECNZ with all that sort of stuff. hrnz.co.nz, each morning when you wake up, if you're looking to go racing, there'll be a preview there for you, starting with, of course, Ashburton and Cambridge on Thursday, Greg. Looking forward to seeing It's Tough at Ashburton on Thursday, Greg. I think it could win. Katie, good luck to you and the team there with It's Tough.
Yep, certainly. Fields will be out too for Westport. Fields will be. Markins will be out Friday. Matt Peden and the team telling me that. Nice to be back in the studio, Michael, even though you mocked me last week. It was nice to
honestly,
have a young, talented
Matt
person.
Cross, massive future Matt Cross. And as a Christmas present, Greg, to everybody in the industry, maybe you should retire now and give the Matt Cross the gift that keeps on giving for the box seat in 2020.
Yeah, just on that, Michael, I think we'll leave it right there. We'll see you next week. All the very best. The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Harness Link, for all your worldwide harness racing coverage. Brecon Farms, New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred. IRT, it's your horse and our passion. Garrard's Horse and Hound. Lincoln Farms, Renwick Farms, Harness Racing New Zealand. The clubs, Auckland, Cambridge, Addington and Ashburton, and the TAB.